This is an Ellis Mowers and More small engine repair. Stay connected on Instagram and Facebook at Ellis Mowers and More. Comments or questions? Leave them below or email me, ellis@ellismowers.com. Parts used in today's repair are found using the links in the description below. And as always, like and subscribe for more small engine content. On today's repair video, we're going to be working on, we're turning two into one basically. One of them's kind of out in the rain here. I'll show it to you in just a second once the rain stops. We've got an RX75 John Deere. The second one is outside, and that's the one that we're actually going to fully fix. This one's just an engine swap. So this lot, I got this one for free. The other one out there is, I fixed it basically in exchange for the Honda rear engine rider, 2 snapper rear engine riders, and like a few push mowers. There was a garden sweeper. You saw that kind of in my why I went full-time video. So in this one, we're going to basically just take the engine off of this one and pretty much be done with it. And then on the other one, we're just going to take this engine, pop it on there, because that one got bored out at one point, but some of the parts got lost and I don't have the push rods or anything for it. I have relatively high confidence that this one is going to run because of the because it's got good compression in it. So I may see if I can try to get it started before I take everything off, but like I said, we'll see what we end up getting into here. Like I said, I think we're going to be in good shape though. They look kind of bad, but I don't think they're going to be too bad to do. The worst part about it is just going to be access around the transmission and stuff, and hopefully we don't have to take off a bunch of stuff in order to get the engine off of it. That's the only thing I'm afraid of. Rain stopped. I'll show you the other machine, and then I'm just going to go to town on this first one, get the engine off, and figure out how to get the engine off. I'll let y'all tune in when I take the engine off of the second one, and we'll go from there. Hope y'all enjoy the video. Let's get started. And here's the other one. The other one, like I said, I think it's got everything connected to it. The deck's here. The tires are pretty bad. I'll take the tires off of the other one, no big deal. And then this engine right here, like I said, I was told that he had it bored out for some reason, and this. So we'll see what ends up coming about of it. Again, we're going to basically take this off, use the engine off of the other one to put onto here. The rest of it, I've felt the transmission, all the pulleys and stuff feel good on the inside, and like I said, we'll just see what we get into here. Just wanted to show you all this one because it is complete and everything looks pretty good on it. It has been sitting a little while, but again, I get this one fixed, then I get to keep that one, a Honda back there, and all of these have baggers with them too. So that's really cool. A few push mowers as well. So that's the gist. Let me figure out what I'm doing here with getting the other engine off, and then once we get to getting this engine off, I'll let y'all rejoin me. Next morning out here, we are going to start on John Deere number 2 to get the engine and stuff off of it. Again, we'll have to see what happens here, materializes with all of this. The old transmission is out of John Deere number 1, and we're going to see if I can get these tires off, because these tires are in much better shape than the ones that are on the machine. So we'll see what we can do with that. He had already taken a bunch of panels and stuff off of here that I'll have to put back on, that were on this machine or the other machine over there. And like I said, we'll just have to see what we can manage here. It looks like all the wiring and stuff is relatively complete still on here, and we just have to figure out how to put it all together. I'm tempted to put a battery in it. Go ahead and change out this positive wire to a better one As you can see, the terminal has gone off of it. And just see if I can get this to turn over before we pull it off, potentially. I'm not sure. There's no oil in it. So just the uncertainty of this engine. And I already got the other one to turn over. It just had really weak sparks. So I'm going to take the ignition coil off of this one. And probably just take all the junk off of here and just turn it on its side. What I'm going to do before I get started this morning is just kind of clean up a little bit, because I finished a little bit later yesterday. And I'm just going to see, you know, what we got to do here, guys. I'll show you the process of taking this off. I kind of explain what I do, and then I might just show y'all how I'm getting everything off, and we'll see what we can do here next. So I'm in the process of taking the deck off now. What you have to do, from what I can tell so far, I've got the back of the mower jacked up so that I could take the roller wheels off, the anti-scout wheels on the back. So what you have to do to get this deck off, from what I can see, in the front you have that bracket that's held on by a clip and a big pin, and then coming over here you could potentially get it off right there. I'm not exactly sure how to get it off. What I'm going to do is get everything loose on this deck, slide it back, and slide it out with these arms still on it. That seems like the easier thing to do, I think, because I think those can push through. Actually, that's actually welded in. I may be able to pull the tabs off. I think I may have to unscrew that. We'll see if I have to get to that point. But your other two tabs, the first one's back there. I think it's right there for y'all. And it's held on by a cotter pin. And then your blade engagement spring, kind of right there beside the light, has held on by a cotter pin as well. So you can take those two cotter pins off, and I think once you raise everything up, I think we'll be able to get this deck off, and we'll be able to work with it. A couple of soft spots in the deck, but I don't see any holes, so I think we'll be able to save this thing and get this engine swapped out. All right, we're at the point of getting this deck off. It wasn't terrible. Again, it was just those two clips that I mentioned, aside from the two mounting points at the front, your blade engagement, and then that one mount at the back, just one. In terms of the belt, I was able to just kind of roll it over through the blade engagement right here and roll it around the main spindle. Again, you can see this is free. That's stuck, but I can probably get it freed back up with a little bit of that Strikehold that I got. And this is free, so that's a plus. And let's see, I'm trying to see what else we've got here that I may need. That's it, just to get the belt off of that. So what I'm gonna do, I'll put you on the tripod. Just gets really messy around here when you're doing engine swaps and turning two mowers into one. But I'm gonna let y'all watch me take this off. Hopefully what I'm gonna do is try and slide it to the back so that I can clear these brackets in the front. Alright, so again, this deck is okay shape, just a little soft around right here. That's the only area that seems to be kind of soft, but it's not soft to the point where it's unusable by any means. So that's good. I'll get this all cleaned off, and then now that we've got the deck out from under it, I can take the machine and I'm going to turn it on its side, just like I did the other one, and go through the process of taking everything off of it. Take the engine off of it. Hopefully I'll be able to get the tires off of it. I got one tire off of this transmission, hopefully with a little bit more lubricant and whatnot, we'll be able to get that other tire off. It's trying to move, but I don't want to force it and bend the rim or anything like that. Again, I've been using the Strikehold stuff since these guys have brought it. That stuff works pretty good for what you need it to. We're going to see if I can use some of it here, and I may not be able to get it just with a little spritz, but to see if I can free these up, unless the bearings are shot on it. But we'll let that kind of mellow for a minute, see if we can get that freed up, and see if, I mean, everything looks good on the deck otherwise, from that little small soft spot, which isn't that big of a deal considering this mower looks like it's from 1988. So because there's a date on the back here, 2488. Wouldn't surprise me if it's that old. It's actually held up pretty well for what it is. So let's turn the mower over, see what we need to do in order to take this engine off so that we can put that engine on. Instead of y'all time lapse and watching me take this off, let me do my best to explain what all you've got to do in order to get one of these off, because you got to get down in here. Again, I have to say this much. Y'all see me work on Murray rear engine riders. This is 5 times easier so far from that. Looks like there's a bracket attached to the transaxle right here that you have to take off so that you can get this mount off, so that you can get this belt off. It's almost like a variable speed, variable drive belt almost on this, which is an interesting setup. You got a lower and an upper drive belt, one from the transmission to this variable pulley, and then from the variable pulley over to the actual, or you have the transmission to the variable pulley over to the engine, and then you have your deck belt. That bracket takes that off. Should be able to pull the deck belt off with ease after that, and then somehow get this variable speed belt off, which I think we could probably get off around this large pulley here. Or I can take, is that a spring, this tension pulley off for it as well. Then it looks like I'm gonna have to disconnect the, is that a brake arm? Is that the parking brake? I think that's the parking brake. I have to disconnect the parking brake from back here because the linkage has to, it's right there, because the linkage has to make it through the, right there, so that we can get the double stack pulley up through the hole. The double stack pulley will fit through the hole if you take this linkage off, and if you take off that spring right there in the middle of your screen. 4 mounting bolts on the bottom. There are a couple of bolts that you'll have to get off on the top too. 2 that you don't have to take off here, or that I don't have to take off here but had to take off on the other machine, were related to mounting of all the shrouds and stuff. Let me see if I can show you all that. So you're going to have this piece, which I need to transfer over, which is like a secondary mounting piece. It mounts to a shroud on the side of the engine, and you have to take that off as well in order to get that on. And it is attached where? Somewhere over here. So it's fixed to the machine somewhere. right there, I think. So that's, if you can't pull it up, it's probably the reason why. Obviously, make sure that you take your throttle off and also take your starter post nut off so that the starter comes up with it. Engine's light enough, you should be able to do that. And then your exhaust. So I'll show you the exhaust here. As long as your exhaust is in good shape, you should be able to wiggle. There's a split pipe right here that just works its way in there. You can leave the exhaust pipe on the actual engine. You just have to wiggle that pipe loose right there, and it'll actually come up out of the top after you do that. So just take your muffler loose, wiggle it out of the top. I hope that explains what you're doing better. It's hard, it's just a lot of moving parts. You just kind of have to look and see clearance wise how everything's going to be, and just go to town on it. So that's what I'm going to do next. I will let you know when I get to the point. I'll show you what I end up having to do, because I'm not exactly sure, because that was missing a couple of parts. This one's missing a couple of parts, and I'll just have to show you how it all goes back together when it goes back together as well. So I'll get on cruising with this, and when we get to the point of taking the engine off, I'll let y'all rejoin me. So I'm at the point to turn the machine back upright. You can access all 4 of these bolts without having to take the transaxle out. So that's pretty good. Thumbs up for John Deere for this design. John Deere overall, relatively easy machines to work on. So I was able to round, again, use a little bit of the tension spring. This is the spring that attaches to this pulley right here. It's a little bit of a bear to get off. You can, but you may be struggling to get it back on. I was able to roll this around the variable pulley here to get it to where it's loose, and it's going to be out of the way of the double stack pulley when I pull it off. Now I got to get this rod back up through here though now, and what I'm gonna do, it's trying to come off, but I'll get it when I turn the machine over. What I did is I just put one bolt back in right here. Your second bolt was right here, your third bolt is on the bottom right here, and your fourth bolt's the hardest one to access, but it is underneath, and you have to move this arm, transmission arm, in order to get to it. I think you can see the hole right there. You can get to it by, you don't have to take the whole transaxle out, but I did take it loose at the top here. The bolt's completely out at the top, and just loosen the bolts at the bottom to shift this pulley down some. And I shifted the pulley down some, and that allowed me to get this concoction with a 13 mil up in there to take that bolt off. So I left that bolt on so the engine doesn't fly off. I do have a couple of things to take off still here on the front, or on the top, which is the throttle, and then that starter nut right there. So I'm going to turn the machine over, take those 2 items off, take that last bolt off that I have hanging on right there, and then I'm going to see if we can pull this up. So I'm going to do that off camera. We'll see if we can pull this up next. Alright, we are back upright. I took that last bolt out. I took the starter nut off and took the throttle cable off here. We should have enough room to be able to pull this just straight up out of here. Hopefully we do. This really hasn't been as hard as I thought it was going to be, which is a huge plus. So let me get it, see if I can wiggle this out here next, or right now actually. So let's see. Let's see what's holding me up here. Nothing much, it doesn't look like. Here we are. How about that? Oh. So, we are out. Again, I don't know what all has been done with this
machine, it looks like the cylinder is in really good shape, but it's just missing the entire cylinder head here. Not knowing, you know, it's been exposed, well, it hasn't been exposed for a while, but it's been sitting out for a while. I do know that this machine turns over, it's got decent compression, the ignition coil is just weak, and it's also a complete engine that the head hasn't been taken off of or anything along those lines. Figured that we should just go ahead and just do it, since I'm either going to have to take the head off of this anyways, which there's terrible clearance here, or not the best clearance for that, and so, you know, I don't know, what taking a chance on this, I feel like I'd be taking more of a chance on this than I would on this. I've just got to clean everything up here. I'm going to swap the ignition coil. Again, it's just a couple of 8mm to swap this out, and it should work pretty well. Again, this one just had some weak spark, or the one on this one had weak spark. Figured I'd just swap them out, and hopefully they'll be good, and we'll have good spark heading up to the engine to try and start it. That's not a huge deal to swap out. We may do that after we get it on the machine. But next order of business is I'm just going to pop this new, clean up the pulleys down here, pop this engine back in. This double stack pulley is seized, obviously, because it's 30+ years old. And then we'll have to do some carb work and whatnot, which we should be able to access fairly easily because it's on the back side here. And just go from there. We're getting close, much closer here, guys. Stick with me here. So I'm at the point where I'm almost ready to start it. I just wanted to show this to y'all before I took a little lunch break. But I'm in the process of taking off the terminal. I had to cut the red wire because it goes into the harness. The terminal going to the battery because the end was bad and I didn't want to keep splicing that in. Everything is on. I got one tire swapped out. The other tire on the left side tire on both of these, well, it's the right side tire on that one, and the left side tire on this one's being a bear. So I'm letting it soak a little bit. We're going to see if we can figure that out. But I took the ignition coil kill wire off just for now. I'm going to, there's no fuel hooked up to it. What I'm going to do next, though, is put a battery in it after I finish the battery connection, and then see if it'll at least turn over if I push the brake safety, or just figure out what safeties need to be jumped or whatever. And we'll go from there. One thing that I do want to mention is don't forget to put that little guide pin, I can't see it on the ground right now because I haven't done it yet, but the little guide pin that I showed you for the transmission, and it's the keeper for the transmission and the deck. Gosh, I can't think of it. Laying around here somewhere. I just got to find it and put it back on again. It's over here. Don't forget to put that back on again. It's just putting that nut in, sliding it in from the top, which you should be able to do relatively easily, and then sliding it through the transmission, putting the nut on the bottom. You'll see how it goes. I'll show you how it goes. I'll probably turn this mower back on its side to put it back on. Well, we're, I guess, at the point where we can try and start this. I've got everything back on and back together. Haven't put that keeper in the bottom yet, but rewired this, put a butt connector here between the two. I think the solenoid's bad. It's stuck in the on position because as soon as you, no matter what key switch position that you have it in, what it's doing, as soon as you touch the terminal, it's trying to crank, which I guess if that's the only issue I have here, then that's good. We'll see. I'm going to throw a little bit of lubricant in here, or card spray. And just honestly see what happens. I hope this thing starts though. Not yet. Okay. Let me confirm that we're getting spark. I do have the switch on, right? The switch is on, okay. Spark tester. Let's see. It's still a really, really weak spark. Really, really weak, unfortunately. So part of me thinks that it may be a flywheel issue. Maybe worth trying to pop the flywheel off to see. That's really unfortunate though. I know I can't see down in there, but it's just very, very dim. And there's nothing attached to it. I could try attaching this coil wire to it to see if that does anything. Let's see. That actually did get me spark back, so that's awesome actually. So I guess having that coil wire disconnected is guys, I don't know if it's some sort of safety feature or something that on it, but you learn something new every day, guys. That's definitely learned something there. So we have strong spark now, which is good. I just really want this thing to kick over. Let's try it one more time. There it is. There it is. There's no exhaust on it, so that's why it's really loud, but that's what we needed right there, guys. Perfect. All right, so now I've got to sort out the situation. I think it's just a starter solenoid, so I'm going to change out the solenoid on it. It's just those two bolts right there, and it looks like it's attached right there by the battery, so I think I may have to remove the battery again. But we've got that. We'll reroute the fuel line or redo some fuel line here on this carburetor. Probably need to take the carburetor off and clean it, I'm sure. Wouldn't that be something if I didn't have to even do that? So I think if we can get the starter solenoid or swapped out, which I got another one over there, hopefully that one works. Hopefully we'll be good here. Let me do that. Again, just a couple of bolts. It's a 4-post down here, so you have to take your terminals off of the 4-post, which the purple one went on this side, and there's a black one that goes on this side, which is the ground. That ground goes to one of the mounting tabs on the engine. Now I do want to mention, if you are having solenoid issues or no power or whatever, don't forget this mounting post right here for the engine also doubles as the ground point for a lot of stuff on the machine, so keep that in mind too. Alright guys, we are in hopefully good shape here. I have figured it out. So this red wire plugs into nothing. What I was doing was plugging that red into the purple, and that basically hot wired it because I was putting 12 volts to the purple, which was closing all the circuits and stuff from the ignition switch, and was just basically hot wiring to turn it on. What I didn't realize I needed to do is to have this in neutral. It will only start if it's in neutral. And now, so we're doing good when it comes to that. I'm gonna spray a little bit of, let's see if it'll fire back up, and if it does, we'll go ahead and try buttoning everything back up here real quick. It's got enough oil in it to run for a brief second, so that's good. Obviously no muffler yet, so that's why we're not going anywhere, but that's awesome. That is fantastic. And I just need to button up a bunch of stuff. I can put this engine cover back on now. Well, I could, but I might just throw a little bit of gas in it and see what happens, honestly. I know it's in neutral. We're not gonna throw it in gear or anything. And double check the oil. Change the fuel lines out right here, because they're pretty hard. And put a fuel shut off and stuff on it. Hopefully I don't screw this gas tank up doing this. And we'll see what happens, y'all. This has been kind of fun so far and relatively easy. I hope I don't eat my words there, but we'll see. So I put a seat on. This is kind of the best of the two seats that I have, I think. The other one out there is even worse for this. What I'm going to do, I put some gas in it, and we got a little bit of a leakage at the, it's actually an OEM John Deere fuel shutoff switch. I tried to use it, but I guess it's just old. Seals are wore out. I'm just going to see if the thing will crank up on its own. I doubt it, but hey, you never know sometimes. So let me throw some choke on here. Yeah, it's not going to. It needs a carb clean or something. Ugh. Just to make sure here. Let's do this. The muffler's on it now, so that's good. How about that? Throttle's a little. Shut off. Yes, sir. Awesome. I'm not going to run it very long because I think it's got a little bit of fuel contaminated in the oil, but we at least know that it runs. I'm tempted to see if I can get it to shift really quick, and let's see. Since I know I can shut it off, I've still got to free up the front end, but let me see if I can at least get it to where I can go into forward. At least I know I can shut off the engine too, so we've got that going for us. Really not smoking terribly, and that's good. It'll have to smoke itself out, but how about that? Who knows how long this engine has been run, and I know it's been years since this mower has been run or driven, so like I said, let me see if I can get it to go into gear. Let me position y'all up for that. So I know we've got some flat tires and stuff, but let me see what I can do here. Wow, that's really good. Again, we still got a lot of work to do. I got to free the front end up. I've got to put the deck back on and button everything up on the frame and all that good stuff. Put all the panels and stuff like that back on that need to be on there, and like exhaust shields and things along those lines. But we've made really good headway. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put these panels on right here. I think I've got them actually. I think he gave them to me. And put those on, button everything up on the engine side, because we are done on the top end with the engine, which is fantastic. Don't even have to do any carb work or anything. So, given that, I'll throw everything back together. We'll wrap up part 1 because I know we're getting kind of long on this video, and we'll do part 2 here. See if we can finish everything up here. I think we're going to be in good shape. Alright, we are near the end of part 1, like I just mentioned. All the stuff is back here in terms of structural for the rear fender and all that stuff. I think there's supposed to be like a cover that goes on top of this. I don't have it, if there is. Just have to put that panel back on. But we have got a running, well, we did. Running a cutting machine, if I can get the neutral switch to work. Well, we did. Either way, there we go. I think it's about to run out of gas. Oh, there we go. I mean, look at it idle down. I haven't even touched the carburetor. So that's fantastic. We'll wrap this video up next. Well, as you can see, we've got a mess behind me, but we have a running and driving machine, and that's a great way to end part 1, especially considering what we started. We do still have some obstacles to overcome. A couple of those being getting the wheel off, or the wheels off, that are stuck, so that I can put the nice tires on the transmission that's going to stay on the mower and leave from here, because the other ones are just complete trash. The other thing we've got to do is get that steering freed up, and we have one pulley to get freed up on the mower deck. We also have a return spring that I need to get. So I got to get a John Deere specific key and a return spring for the mowing deck. I think that may be all the parts that I have to order. I may have to order an idler pulley. I think I may have one here. We'll find out. But considering that I have maybe, I don't know, I started on it yesterday afternoon, a day's worth of work into this, we're doing really good, and really excited as to how it's all turning out so far. So I appreciate y'all watching here on part 1, and part 2 we will get everything on here buttoned up, and the deck back on it, the transmission or the tires swapped out, the deck spring on it, and whatever else we have to do to it to get it back into good condition. We may even throw a little bit of John Deere green on it. We'll see how excited we'll get with this. Thanks again, y'all, and thanks for watching as always. I will catch you on the next one. Take care.